Hi everybody. My name is Klaartje, Klaartje van Zwoll. I live in the Netherlands and I work as a tester and an agile coach at the Agile Testers, our small but happy, friendly company. Um, so, I want to talk to you today about communication, and I'd like to have a little bit of a disclaimer first. I'm not a professional. I'm not a certified communication coach. I have no official education in this. I just want to share this with you because it has been so very important for me the last years. And also, I don't know if you can feel it, but I'm quite nervous about sharing this because it does feel personal to me. Like I said, it has been a huge focus for me. And although I've grown in a lot of ways in communicating, I'm also very much aware that I'm nowhere near perfect in it. And I'm not sure if I ever will be, but we can strive to be better than we used to be, right? So, why do I want to tell you something about communication or clear communication? I um, I found out, I experienced that there were similar patterns in behavior and communication within the private space and the workspace. Um, we tend to assume a lot. At least I know I do. I assume a lot about what other people want from me, what they need. Um, we are not trained to talk about this, and often when we try to talk about needs and boundaries that we have, we fail to be specific. And by failing to be specific, we fail to reach a common understanding. So that's, to me and to a lot of other people I heard this morning or today, has been important. So that's why I want to talk to you about this. So I need you to tell a bit about my story, my history. 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, I went through a divorce. I had a relationship for about 14 years and it ended. And of course, I was so devastated and felt horrible, horrible. But also, it was the start of me for intense personal development. I saw a lot of patterns in my own way of thinking and my behavior and in my ways of communicating that I wanted to change. And therefore, I took some workshops and some more, and I read some books, and I listened to podcasts, and I read some blogs, and I sponged up all the information that's out there, or not all of it, but quite some, at least the stuff that would um, resonate with me. And what I learned there, I think, is further applicable to, well, all regions of life, really, not only when you're talking about communication within um, relationships. So, what did I become aware of? Um, I became aware of patterns, like I said, that I have about assumptions I had and made about other people, about the fact that I really, really find it difficult to say no, to hold boundaries. Also, that I find it difficult to say no to needs that I assume other people have. So they don't actually have to tell me this, but I'll think it for them. And then I feel that I can't say no to it and then I'll get mad about it. Yeah, that's complicated stuff. And it's not very healthy or useful for anybody. And today I want to talk to you about these four things you see here: how to recognize patterns, how to communicate needs, how to communicate your boundaries, how to be, well, more specific in general. And let it be said that this shit is awkward. Can I say shit? Yeah, I can. Okay. It's awkward, it's clunky, and it's difficult, and it takes a lot of courage to do. So it has to be said. Right. Patterns. First, let's talk about recognizing behavioral patterns. We all know that your upbringing influences the way you communicate as an adult. Of course, this is something that is common knowledge. But in the last few years, I've really realized it and experienced it that this actually affects a lot of what you do, maybe more than you would think in the first place. So an example I want to give to you is the guest culture versus the ask culture, and it's something that's from that I got from a blog. It's called Metafilter Guided Tours blog. You see the link at the bottom. It's about these two different kinds of ways you learn to communicate. You have the ask culture on one hand and the guest culture on the other hand. So, in the ask culture, in some families, you grow up with the expectation that you can really ask for anything and that it's okay, you can ask for anything at all. But also, you gotta realize you might hear a no, and that's okay too. You might hear no for an answer. On the other hand, you have the guest culture, and in this way of uh, behaving with each other or communicating with each other, you really avoid putting a request into words unless you're pretty sure that the answer will be yes. So guest cultures depend on, and I'm gonna quote a bit from this because they already formulated it perfectly. Guest culture depends on a tight net of shared expectations, and the key skill is putting out delicate feelers. So if you're from guest culture, unwelcome requests from an ask culture seem out of line. They seem so rude. Um, because if somebody asks you something that you really want to say no to, you will have to say no, which you're not really trained in doing, and it will make you look rude because you are not used to saying no to people. So how can they do this to us? Oh my god. Um, so these requests may likely make you feel angry or uncomfortable or manipulated even. And if you're from an ask culture, you really don't understand why somebody would react in such a incomprehensible way or even a bit passive aggressive. So I'm clearly from a guest culture. And the problem with this is the further you get away from your family and your tight net of connections in which you have established this kind of speaking or behavior, the more you have to embrace the ask culture because you will else spend your life in a cloud of mild outrage about other people. I mean, oh my god, how could he even ask me this? Was something that I would think quite a lot. Um, okay, so how to recognize what behavioral patterns you have created? Firstly, read about them, listen about them. And there are, of course, many ways in you can divide different groups of people and different groups of behavioral patterns, but just there's so much out there. Find something that resonates with you and that will help you to understand how you work, how your mind works. And then for me, it really helped to reflect on the situations in which I found myself that were really uncomfortable and where I didn't know if I had done the right thing or if I could have done better. So I started to journal and started to reflect on the stuff that happened. Um, and as um, practiced this, I found that the the time between the situation happening and me understanding what actually happened inside my head would shorten. So it became more easy to understand how my brain would work, and because I was seeing through some patterns. And even after a while, and this is mind-boggling if it works or if that happens. Um, I finally came to a point in which I was in a situation that was uncomfortable for me. And as I was going down my sweet old pattern that I was used to go down, go to, I was used to going that way, that behavior, that communication. I actually realized it. And I was like, oh no, you are about to do something stupid. And normally you would understand this tomorrow, but now you understand this right now. So you can actually change your behavior at this very moment. And that was, I felt like Dio from The Matrix, actually. Like, no, thank you, old stupid communication pattern, you bastard. I'm not going to do that today. Oh, I actually have an example. So a while ago, a friend of mine had a birthday party, and we were sleeping over with a couple of friends there. And I was sleeping in one room with a friend of mine, and there was one luxurious king-sized bed, and there was one stupid little air bed on the floor. And I asked him, "Where do you want to sleep?" And he said, "Well, I don't mind." And then I said, "Oh, okay, then I'll take the bed." And when I went to sleep there, my mind started saying, "Oh, you're kind of a bastard for taking the bed." Yeah. I bet he actually wanted to have the bed and not the air mattress. And and he didn't tell me. But I know that he wanted to. And and I said no. I said no, I wanted to have the bed. And I was actually starting to get angry about stuff that I was imagining him thinking. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but that what was happening in my head. And I could actually stop myself and recognize, no, wait, what you're doing now is totally insane. Please don't. So that was a small example of that. But I was really glad that I could stop my thoughts there and say, no, this is no longer the way you want to think or want to behave. So please drop it. And I felt pretty proud. Okay, next. Next up is communicating your needs. So all needs are valid. That's something that's really, really important to realize. Every need you have is valid. So people that call you needy are people who don't know how to set boundaries, or don't know how to say no, or don't know how to hold space for you and your need without actually acting on it. I mean, it doesn't mean that all needs can be met. You can have a need that cannot be met by the people you are working with at that time, or the people you are having a relationship with at that time. And that's okay. I mean, it might lead to conflict, it might lead to a talk. Maybe you can adjust, compromise, and if you can't, you can always choose to leave. But then that's something you learned, and that's okay. So all your needs are valid. For me, that was a really, really important one to um, internalize, or how do you say, to yeah, to become aware of. You are your number one advocate. If you're not going to speak up for your needs, then nobody is going to do that. So you have to. And a way you can do this is that you can make, or you could try to make your needs easy to meet. And that means you have to be specific. So if I tell my manager, I need more support from you, he might think, what does she mean with that? I mean, I always send her this and this emails, and I don't know what she means by this. And he might feel a bit attacked that he's not supportive enough yet. And I might feel um, angry that he doesn't understand what I'm talking about. So if you make this need very specific, for example, I would like to sit with you one on one 15 minutes a week. Is that something that you can do? Then he can actually say yes or no. And if he says, "No, I can't do that, it'll take me too much time, but we can sit every 2 weeks," then it's a nice compromise. And you will have a bit of your need met without the frustration of not reaching common understanding about what we're talking about. Then I'd like to talk a bit about communicating your boundaries. This is part one, saying no. And this is an actual photo of me, or my attempt to set a boundary. And this door was kicked in with a falcon kick, so it didn't really work, but you uh, try and try again and practice and become better at it. So, boundaries, they exist to keep you safe. Um, and let me just peek in my notes for a bit. Your boundaries, whether it is saying no or whether it is actually talking to people about behavior that they did and that about boundaries that were crossed. They are not, your boundaries are not here to punish people. They exist for people to stay in connection with you, and you have them, and you speak. You communicate them because you care. Because if you didn't care about the relationship you have with people, you don't have to set your boundaries. You just sod off, right? That doesn't really. Um, the they are there, and you want to communicate them because you care about the relationship you are having with either the workspace or in private. um, Saying no is hard, and it can be very, very awkward and very, very uncomfortable, especially if you've grown up in a guest culture and you're not used to saying no, because there is somewhere a thought that says, if I say no, these people will be very, very sad, and I am not lovable anymore. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what happens in your brain. So it's uncomfortable, and you really, really have to learn to sit in this discomfort. Just sit in it and feel it, and try not to say anything during that time. Okay, that's one golden rule that I want to say to you. If you have just said no to a request, shut up. You don't want to start and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or maybe turn your no into a maybe. Um, just shut up for a bit, because the other person will have to need the other person needs some time to actually process the no, and maybe they will say okay, and maybe they will say, well, I don't really like that, and that's okay too, because it's not your job to protect other people from feeling hurt or sad or disappointed. And also, when you deny a request of somebody, try not to say that you're sorry, because you should save the words "I'm sorry" for behavior that you're really sorry about, and not be. You should not be sorry for protecting your own health and mental, yeah, well, your mental health and your own space. I was distracted by the chat. I'm sorry. Should not take a look at that. Okay. So, how can you react when somebody crosses your boundary? Um, there are a few steps that you can take that make that easier, makes it more specified, makes it less aggressive, and really keeps the problem with yourself. So, first, try to specify the behavior that the other person had, how that made you feel, and the story you tell yourself, and then what behavior you would prefer, and maybe how that would improve things. So, for example, a, a colleague of mine interrupted me during refinement, and then I can say, when you interrupted me during refinement this morning, it made me feel uh, shitty and a bit angry, because the story I tell myself is that you think I'm not important enough to talk. And what I would prefer is that you let me speak until I'm finished, and then start with your own story. For me, that would improve the refinements, because I would feel a lot more safe and a lot more accepted. Something like that. If you set your boundary like that, the other person will not feel attacked, because you're not attacking his behavior. You're just saying how it makes you feel and what your reaction is, and so the problem is with you. And then they can help you, and helping is nice. We know that people like to help. We just heard that in Vela's story. They want to help you. If they want to help you, if they want to have a good relationship with you, they will actually try and keep that boundary for you, because they respect you. And if they don't, get out of there. Oh, I'm going way too fast. Holy shit. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Um, it will be awkward and clunky and difficult at first and very, very, very scary to uh, to to do all of this, actually, to request the needs that you have and also to say no to requests that other people's have, and especially speaking up and when people are crossing your boundaries. It's scary stuff, and that's okay. And when you exercise this and when you practice this, you will learn that people won't bite your head off. I mean, they might be a bit sad or a bit, especially if they've known you for a while and you suddenly start to change this behavior, they might be a bit caught off guard, like, whoa, is this coming from you? Or they have to get used to this way of speaking. And that's okay. Just take time. Um, I think that's everything. Yeah, that was it. Wow. Okay. I was just rambling, but yay, we're done. Oh yeah. So one thing, if you want to know more, especially about books and podcasts and stuff that I got this stuff from, and let me share it with you. Just reach out to me, and we will. I can give all the links and stuff to you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Klaartje. I think that was an absolutely heartfelt talk, something that is very personal to you, a personal journey, a personal growth. It's a lot to take in, to be honest. Very nice. Quality talk. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's a lot of clapping and thank yous in the chat box.
Yay.
Does anyone have questions or remarks? I saw Gitte say something interesting a bit higher up, saying that if she doesn't help herself, what is she? That I had the feeling that she might want to elaborate a bit on that. That she was.
Yeah, she's
She
typing
was
now.
asking questions. Yeah.
I mean, what I have experienced, and I've been in this pattern for a really long time, that I would assume what other people were needing from me, and then try to live to that standard, and even get angry about what I thought other people were needing from me, and it just does not work that way. I mean, okay, so Gid is actually saying, if I don't help others, do I have value? I don't think the two. I don't think that holding your own boundaries and helping others, if that you have to choose between the two. You can do both. Um, you can do both. You should not help others if it means that you yourself are uh, um, yeah, that it takes a toll, like takes a big toll on yourself. And she says, I logically know that it's not a choice, but this is what I feel. Yeah, and I understand. And if, yeah, I totally understand, because I have felt like this for a long, long time. And the moment you experience that if you hold your boundaries, you are not less lovable, and people still will love you and embrace you just the way you are, maybe more because you are becoming more of your authentic self. It's a really not only comforting but also um, it just makes you want to do this more. So just try it for a bit and see that maybe people, especially if they are used to you helping always in every way with everything, they might be a bit confused about you saying no to some things, but they must understand. And there are there are perfect scripts to tell people why you have to deny a request, and just exercise, just try it for once and see how it makes you feel and see how other people react. Yeah, very good, Veerle. People who don't accept that are not worth your help. That's a nice one. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, someone was pinging me on Gather Town at the meantime, and I was
Oh,
wondering
okay.
where do these voices come from? Oh, there's a lot of reactions on this. One of them is Joanna Lipinska. Did you have that situation that some people left you because you've started set boundaries,
Uh,
for example?
no. Well, a bit maybe. So, of course, especially when I'm talking about my kid's father, my ex-husband, our relationship changed so much, and um, we had to get used of. I mean, we both went separate ways and through separate chapters of growth, and we have to we now communicate on a different level than we used to, which is very good and way more healthy than we used to do. um, so our relationship has changed, and it has, of course, we are now further apart, um, but it's all right. It doesn't feel like a miss. And further than that, I don't have anybody who has left me just because I said no. I really don't have the bandwidth to go to a party with you or anything. Yeah, or maybe I have, but I don't miss them. That should be a good thing. I think. Yeah.
It's a bit of self-care, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that people don't cross your boundaries, and then if they do, you want to protect yourself, right?
Right.
So Veerle asked a question. Let me see if I can publish this. So on a work situation, did people respond negatively to your new boundaries? So
Right.
when there wasn't a boundary before, you have new ones.
Yeah.
So how did people react?
Yeah, I have been setting more boundaries at work, especially when it comes to doing all the weird extra stuff like speaking in conferences and that kind of things. Um, but people have reacted in a really positive way. Um, when I could tell them, wow, I really don't have the energy to cope with this work, and then that on top of it, people would just totally understand. And that, yeah, that's okay. Um, I don't understand your comment, Veerle. What is it saying? That was a Cheeto
She's
boundary?
referring to your picture of your actual boundary, which was a Cheeto
Oh,
in the
yeah.
log.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, it was not, because I have declined offers for conferences, and at this moment I do actually have the energy for it. So I am choosing to to be here at this moment. So, yay.
It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Um, one comment from Antonella, it's not really a question, but she says that she doesn't always practice what she preaches in terms of setting her own boundaries and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But let's try. Mhm.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I just know that I'm nowhere near perfect in this. So I am practicing this, and often I fall back into my own to my old patterns, um, and that just happens, and I can't really help it, and I'll just feel a bit shitty about it, and I'll think, oh well, hopefully better luck next time, and just try to keep some awareness about them. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, no,
something that
I'm
you just say that is suddenly a skill that you have. It's something that you need to practice and you need
right. Yeah. Yeah,
to
definitely. It's not
improve.
like it's not a boolean. It's not like a click. Too bad, but it's not. Yeah.
So we have another very long question from Antonella. So some teams in my company always request a proper written request in order to investigate something. But in her case, people will just tell her about a bug and expect her to go and investigate it right away. How would you suggest that she explains that and have them write it down and explain the issue well and not just toss it to her?
Okay. I'm going to make some assumptions about how this makes you feel right now, but um, you can say something like, when you just tell me about a bug and expect me to go investigate it right away. I feel overwhelmed and maybe chaotic or busy. And the story I tell myself is that I have to do this right away, and else you will think less of my work or be uh, I'm looking for English words. I'm sorry. Yeah, so
Inferior or something?
yeah, feel teleurgesteld.
Disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah, disappointed in my work. It would help me if you would write them down and explain the issue well and not toss it to me, because then I can pick it up when I need to, when I have the energy or time for it, and it'll make me do my work better. And maybe you can say something like that it will improve the overall quality of the product, of course, as well. If you take a look at the bug at um, from a point of calmness and more focus, something like that.
There's a couple of more questions, one from Ileana, but we are running out of time. So,
Okay.
Ileana, I would suggest find Klaartje in Gather Town and ask her these questions, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the talk, Klaartje.
You're very welcome.
I really enjoyed how personal and heartfelt it was. I think that's incredibly important and valuable.
Yay.
Um,
Thanks for having me.